Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Fight Insight Podcast.
That was the real tall guy?
There we go. That's the tall guy. Yeah, that's Big Mo.
Okay.
So he does the announcing for a bunch of boxing things.
I see.
We had him on the podcast. He's such a cool dude. Mm-hmm. And he's the next big thing for announcing, Big Mo.
I can see that.
He is, man. He's got a good look.
Job, serious.
Yeah, his voice is good. He's got the look, everything.
Yeah.
Guys, welcome to the podcast. Fans, viewers, and listeners of Fight Insight Podcast. Thanks for joining us. With me again for the second week in a row, this is Jared from @SacredBoxing. How's it going, Jared?
What's going on?
Yes. All right. Yeah, thanks, man, for coming. For those that might have missed you on last week's podcast, you came with me to break down UFC 285. And here we are now. We're going to be doing... you didn't know all the dudes on the last card. You're going to have a hell of a time knowing anybody on this card.
Okay.
This is UFC Vegas 71. This is Merab Dvalishvili versus Petr Yan. So the big champ Yan, he's fighting Merab. That's the main event. And then we will run through the main card.
Okay.
And we'll see what you think about these guys. This is a tough one, man. This is going to be a tough one to break down. But before we do it, let's let people know who you are and where you're at. If they didn't catch you on the last show, that's fine.
For sure. My name is Jared Robinson. I'm the founder, owner of Sacred Boxing. I started a Sacred Boxing in the middle of the pandemic in 2020, that first year. And I knew everything else shut down. I had a mobile chair massage business, and that's still active, but I had to unplug it and plug back into where something that was sacred to me, and that's where the name came from.
That's crazy, man. I did not know that. So that's funny because my podcast started during the pandemic as well because I had nothing to do. I couldn't train anymore. I got to do something. That's crazy. I didn't know you were that young into it too. So I would have thought that your page has been going for a long time.
Oh, no. Yep.
Oh, nice. But how long had you been doing boxing before starting the page, though?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I started boxing in 2002 as an amateur.
Okay.
Fought for 7 years as an amateur and turned pro. At 16 amateur fights, 20 pro fights. Fought pro for another 7 years. And so there, a total of 14 years fighting. Retired in 2016. And then, took me to 2020 where it was time to, show and prove. So that's what I did.
That's awesome, man. That is cool. And your students must really appreciate the fact that you're like a proven boxer. You know what I mean? Like you have the history, you have the experience. Because that kind of stuff is so invaluable to students, right? When they know that they're training with someone who has legit done it before.
Right. I think so. And I remember judging myself, being harder on myself than they were. Like when I lost the fight, I was there. I knew the emotions and all the things that I went through. And, it just took a while for me to understand that win or lose, I gave it my best, and they respect that.
Yeah, of course, man. That's awesome. That's really cool. And like I said before, we're going to have you back on the podcast one day to talk even more to you and about all that. So we're going to talk about this fight card. And again, our podcast is going to be a little bit shorter than normal. We're just doing the fight picks just for the main card because I'm pre-recording this. So now this one we're recording 2.5 weeks out. So if this fight card changes, we apologize. We're doing our best to do the fight picks as best as we can, but it's for this card here. So there is Yan versus Merab. This is not the official poster because it's not even out yet by the time we're recording this, but there it is. So, I mean, boy, oh boy, this is a tough one. Let's look at the card here. The first one is Vitor Petrino at light heavyweight versus Anton Turkalj. 7-0 versus 8-1.
Both good records.
Both great records. They're opening up the main card on a fight night. I'll give you a little bit of a backstory here. Vitor Petrino, he's from Dana White's Contender Series. He looks pretty big. That's my official notes that I'm reading off. Okay, so he's a big boy. Brazilian. This is how little I know, so I got to go. He's got 12.7 thousand followers on Instagram, 6 finishes. Out of his 7 wins, 6 finishes by KO or TKO. So this looks like a striker. Versus Anton Turkalj, 8-1. I did say he looks like a guy from a boy band. That was my first impression. Like the long blonde hair, good looking dude, Swedish. His nickname is the Pleasure Man.
Okay, I'd like to hear the story behind that nickname.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, if this guy wins, if this guy wins his fight, guarantee I'm getting this guy on the podcast. He's only got 4,000 followers.
Okay.
All right. So he's young. He's also from Dana White Contender Series, but he's coming off his first loss after 7 finishes in a row. Coming off his first loss with the UFC.
Got it.
So 2 young contenders. You've got Vitor Petrino versus the Pleasure Man.
Yep. And what was his background again? And
Brazilian. Fighting stance wise, no idea. The
other guy from Sweden.
I don't know. He's a pleasure background. Maybe Swedish massages. I don't know. What do we know? You got the massage chairs.
Right.
The Pleasure Man from Sweden. It all fits.
Right. It all fits. You're right.
All right. This is a toss up. Who are you going to pick? The Pleasure Man or the Brazilian?
I'm going for the striker. I'm going to go for the striker. I'm going to go for Victor.
You're going to go for Vitor Petrino?
Vitor, yep.
God damn it. No, you got to give. All right. I'm going for the Pleasure Man because I definitely want to get this guy on my podcast. That's why.
I see. You want there's definitely some content that he has to.
Yeah. I mean, God damn, I got to know why his name is that, right? Like, where did that come from? Okay. So we got Vitor Petrino versus Anton Turkalj. That should be a good fight. I mean, they're both very good records, so we'll see what happens there.
Yep, young, hungry, good records. I like it.
Exactly. Next one, we got Said Nurmagomedov versus Jonathan Martinez. Spoiler alert, he is not related to Khabib Nurmagomedov. Okay. So
I automatically assumed.
Exactly. And I bet you poor Jonathan Martinez assumes he's related too.
Right.
He's like, shit. He's the number 14 ranked bantamweight. And he's fighting Jonathan Martinez. Jonathan Martinez also is not related to Khabib. And he does have, though, some pretty notable wins over Frankie Sains, Thomas Almeida, and Cub Swanson. So Martinez, and again, very close records, 17-2, 17-4.
Yeah. Where is he from? Is he from California area?
Jonathan Martinez?
Right.
Let me take a look here, my friend. Let's see what we got. Jonathan Martinez. Fill the time here on the podcast with some singing or something. What can you do?
Well, no, I was going to say I met Cub down in Oxnard when I was actually entertaining a move from North Carolina to California right towards the end of my pro career.
Okay.
And, it was a very cool trip, and I was that close to making the move, but the confidence and the putting my family on my back and trekking across the country took me out of that decision. So
it's a tough one, man. My wife and I have visited California 2 or 3 times, like up and down the coast.
Yep.
Every time we barely get back on the flight home.
Yeah.
We're like, this place is great. Yeah. Beautiful. Although you're in North Carolina?
Yeah, I'm in North Carolina. Correct.
Okay. Where's Myrtle Beach? Is that
Myrtle
South
Beach
Carolina?
is 3.5 hours away.
Okay. I used to go down there to golf a lot. Beautiful. Did you? And the people are so nice. Dang. Oh, yeah. Like hospitality and friendly people. Yeah, it's beautiful there. You born and raised?
Born and raised. Yeah, born and raised in Sumter, actually. So I was actually an hour and a half from the beach.
Oh, okay. Nice.
We go there.
Tough life. Son of a gun. Tough life. Okay, let's get back to this. Jonathan Martinez. He's American. So maybe his family has roots. Fighting out of Texas. Maybe like a Mexican background or something like that. But good dude. But can he beat a Nurmagomedov? What's your no?
I would say it sounds like he has a striking background, boxing. I would just only assume, with the Mexican heritage. And Magomedov having a grappling wrestling background would be only make sense. So it's a tough one. I would have to research but I would go like always do. I would go with the striker.
Go with the striker. All right, stick true to the roots, my friend. All right, so you're going for Martinez. Yeah, Martinez in his last 4 fights, 3 decisions and 1 TKO to the leg for his win over Cub Swanson. So okay, you're taking Martinez. I'm going to go opposite to you again. I'm going to go Nurmagomedov. I think it's just the stupid name has ruined
your brain.
It's poisoned my brain. It's like a commercial that constantly plays. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I can't go against it.
Right.
All right. Next fight is Ricardo Ramos, who is 16-4 versus Austin Lingo, 9-1. I know you don't watch a lot of UFC, but I'll tell you, I'm struggling to know who these dudes are as well.
Okay.
Let's go to my notes. Ooh, barely any notes on this one. Ricardo Ramos has 10 fights. Okay, I guess this was the notable thing I saw between these two guys. Ricardo Ramos, 16-4, has 10 fights in the UFC. Austin Lingo, only 3 fights in the UFC, and he has a 9-1 record. So Ricardo Ramos has quite a bit more fights than this guy. Almost, exactly double the amount of fights. And he's had as many fights in the UFC than Lingo has had in his total professional career. If that means anything to you.
Yeah, I like experience.
Yeah.
Experience is, the bread and butter of the sport. Being under the lights, like you said, being in fighting in front of a crowd always makes a difference. So experience wins.
It's funny that you say that too, because this is the first card that's in Vegas, but it's not at the stupid Apex. You know what I'm talking about? The Apex, that stupid thing with no fans, it's like that.
Oh yeah, got it. Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So they've been fighting always at the Apex for these fight nights, and there's no crowd. Apparently, we've talked to UFC fighters, it's $2,000 a ticket, and there's only 30 seats. You know what I mean? There's nothing. But this one is at a place it's at the Theater at Virgin Hotels. I don't know what the hell this is. But for some reason, this card is at some weird venue. I don't know if that means that there's going to be a crowd or not.
Right.
But regardless, you've got the cameras, you've got the pressure of the UFC.
Yep.
So you're going with experience. You're going with Ricardo Ramos.
I am.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that as well. I think Ricardo Ramos takes this one with the experience factor. I'm gonna go there.
Yep.
All right. Next fight is the Battle of the Alexanders. You've got Alexander Volkov, 35-10, versus Alexander Romanov, 16-1. Let's see. Alexander Volkov, he's the big tall guy with the crazy Asian tattoo on the back. He's been alternating wins and losses for his last 4 fights. 34 years old, from Russia. Romanov is 16-1. He's coming off his very first loss. He's Moldovan and 32 years old. So very close. But Volkov, now here you're talking about experience, but now we're looking at, is this too much experience? Is this too much mileage?
Right.
45 professional fights for a 34-year-old.
I mean, you just took the word right out of my mouth. Right when I saw his record, I was like, all right, I talked about experience, 45 to, 17 fights on the other end. But it just depends where those miles are put. If those miles are put in the losing column, then, it's almost like damaged goods. You just wonder,
Yeah, the chin starts to wear a little bit,
Absolutely.
right? Stuff like that. Let's take a look at Volkov's losses. How has he lost? I'm curious. Only 2 by knockout, 3 by submission, and 5 by decision. So not that bad. It's not you know what I mean? It's not dudes getting knocked out a lot. His last 2 losses were only a submission and a decision. His last loss was a knockout to Derek Lewis back in 2018. So suffice it to say, his chin has recovered in the last 5 years.
Right.
I don't know. So what are you going to say? You're going to say too much mileage here on Volkov?
Yeah, I think it's I'm doing algorithm in my head, wondering, you know,
I can see it. I can see it turning.
Yeah, remembering that first time I lost and what, you know, how that showed up for me. And, you know, or on the other side where he has 10 losses and kind of used to that 50-50 in his last few fights that he's lost. So we'll give it to the experience again.
Ooh, damn! Really, you're gonna go Volkov? It's man. It's funny that we may go for a perfect record here. I'm gonna pick against you again. I think I'm gonna go for the younger fighter. Right. It is heavyweight. Is the only thing I'm thinking. Like these are heavyweight. If it was a lighter weight, maybe I'd be like okay, but these are heavyweight. So even when he loses by a decision, it still means you're absorbing some like heavy blows. His loss was to Marcin Tybura back in August of 2022, and it was by decision.
Yeah. How many rounds was it?
3 rounds.
3 rounds. Okay.
And his win before that, and that was a quick turnaround fight because he had just fought at the end of April, so June, July. So it was like a 3-month turnaround. And then he loses the decision after an impressive first round stoppage of Chase Sherman. So yeah, I'm going to go with Alexander Romanov. He seems to be a little bit shorter and stockier as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go definitely reference this video again in real time. That's going to be a good one.
yeah, we'll see. Yeah. Hey, don't worry though. I'm going to edit it out so that I look like I always make the right picks. Oh, so it's gonna totally ruin it for you, man. Don't worry. You better. I like it. You better have been saving this on the end.
All's fair.
Yeah. All right. Main event time. You've got Petr Yan versus, I don't know how to say that name. Petr Yan, 16-4 versus Merab Dvalishvili. All right.
That's an even record.
15. Yeah, that's right. 15-4 versus 16-4. I think people will not realize that. I think people are going to think Petr Yan has a way better record than Merab because Merab is kind of new on the scene. He came from Dana White's Looking for a Fight. He's part of Matt Serra's crew, so he trains with Aljamain Sterling and what's his name, Al Iaquinta, like that crew, the New York crew. Okay. Whereas Petr Yan is Petr Yan. Former champion, got screwed over by the Aljamain. You remember that? When
I do remember. It was like a knee to the head, or
the knee to the grounded opponent. I do remember that. Loses the title, loses the rematch. Now Petr Yan also lost to Sugar Sean O'Malley. Did you watch that fight?
I did watch that fight. I was in Myrtle Beach with Icy Mike doing the. He had Gabe Varga there, had Shane Faison, a few other creators. So we watched it that night.
Now, do you recall if you thought it was a robbery, as the world did?
I didn't think it was a robbery. I was going with the better striker again, and
in Sugar Sean.
So what again?
Sean O'Malley. In Sugar Sean O'Malley, the better striker.
O'Malley, yep. I was going with the striker, and I just that's what it was, and I thought it was. I thought I was perceiving things that other people weren't perceiving, but everyone's perspective is different, and I do respect it. So, and I did when I got this link or this invite you sent me, I did actually look up these two fighters.
Okay.
Of all the cards that we were looking at, but I looked at these two fighters, and I did like what Merab brought to the table with his striking.
Yeah. So let me play a quick video. This is a quick highlight video of Petr Yan. Just
на самой окраине верится как в правду то, что рая нет, и я не знаю, как надо и как правильно.
Damn.
That last one was sweet. Jab, cross, heel kick.
Yeah, so that's just a little highlight reel that I found online. So whoever did that was pretty awesome. Yeah, it's tough, man. This is a tough one. Let me just see some notes that I have on this thing. So Petr Yan, he's 1-3 in his last 4 fights. So for one of the greatest in the world, he has sure had a damn bad luck streak because he loses the 2 to Aljo and the 1 to O'Malley. So that's pretty tough. So my note here is just, how's his mental game here?
Right.
You know, like this guy went from being top shit, one of the best pound for pound in the world, you know, greatest, and now he's on a 1-3 streak.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do you bounce back from this? At what point does this really play into your mentality? Whereas you've got Merab, who's on an 8-fight streak after suffering 2 losses in the UFC I believe to begin his UFC career. He loses 2, coming off Dana White looking for a fight, and then now he goes off on an 8-fight streak. Mind you, 7 of those are decisions. You know, a little bit wrestling heavy. Aljamain has said that I think Aljamain is saying, like, if he beats Triple C, that he may abandon the title to let Merab go for the title. Like,
just stablemates, just doing
which I think is a stupid thing. Give me a break. Right? Because I don't think Aljo has defeated everybody in this division, that he should like leave it just so his friend can get it.
This is true. That's kind of a cop out a little bit.
Something, right? Yeah, it's like almost like you want to avoid something. I don't know, but
there's a lot to unpack with that.
Yeah, a lot. I mean, all I know is I need friends like Aljo who just freaking gift me shit. You know what I mean? Like, give me a break. That's so weird. Have you ever had people that you've trained or at the same gym fight one another?
No, there's more of a level of respect. Even the 2 MMA gyms that I train at, one of the owners called me and said, one of our fighters looking to fight the other guy. Do you train him over there? I said, yes. I said, okay, this is a no-go. You know, we don't do that. So this is a level of respect. It's
funny, you know, on this podcast, we talk to fighters from all over the world. We've been really lucky, right? This is episode 108 or whatever 109, maybe this episode. We've had like over 100 different guests. It's very split down the middle. Some say, yeah, man, I'll fight anybody. If it's a member of my gym, that's business. I got to do it. Yeah. So it's weird. Yeah. I was listening to a podcast with Jamal Hill, the new heavyweight champion.
Yep.
One of his first amateur fights was against his god brother. He fought like literally like a family member.
That's different.
Crazy, right? Like when you're coming up and you're like, hey, this is the fight. I mean, geez Louise, there's got to be another guy for you to fight. But
yeah. I remember I fought a friend of mine in the Eastern Trials for the Olympics, but it was like he was training down here. He went back home to Patterson, New Jersey. We fought in Ohio in the Eastern Trials, and he's been boxing since he was 9. I got a late start when I was 19. So kind of already, we did it because that's the way the brackets went. There was we were both fighting for the same dream. So just do it.
And so that's in a tournament too.
That's
what I mean?
Correct.
Like you weren't signing on the dotted line to fight this guy only. Like, that's, hey, if it comes, it comes. But like,
Right.
Anyways, it is, man. All right. So Petr Yan versus Merab, kind of like old school versus new school, but again, 16-4 versus 15-4. So they're really pretty down the middle. Who do you got?
I go with Merab.
Really?
I go with Merab. Just the little highlights that I did see prior to jumping on here. I liked his distance. I liked his striking, liked his spacing. I did see a fight. I'm not sure who was against, where he did get rocked, but he recovered from it. I was like, okay, it's just moment in time.
All right. Well, this makes the card perfectly split down the middle because I'm going for Petr Yan. I feel like this guy is going to be so angry at his 3 losses. I feel like because he knows Merab is part of Aljo's team.
Okay.
I think he's going to want to murder this guy.
Yep.
I do think Petr Yan has good wrestling and whatever. I feel like Merab doesn't have as good striking as Sugar Sean O'Malley.
Right. Yeah, definitely not.
So definitely not. So I feel like the striking disadvantage he may have faced there is not going to be here. And so now it's going to become more like wrestler versus wrestler,
like it.
Whatever. So I'm going to go with Petr Yan. I'm also going to think maybe even Russia, maybe like, hey, Peter, you got to win this. Let's hook you up. You know, maybe I don't know. I don't know what's happening.
Think you met with the president?
The president of something, that's for sure. So I'm going to go for Petr Yan to take that one and get back in the win column and try to get back to something against Aljo or do something. You know what I mean? Like he's got to have some fight. So all right, that is our fight pick. So that's crazy that we're split down the middle on every fight. Right. Jared, man, it was such a pleasure to meet you and have you on the podcast again for the second time in a row. Like I said before, I definitely want to get you back on. And for those that don't know, like you saved my ass because my co-host unfortunately went MIA and I needed to film these, and you answered the call and were such a pleasure to meet. Man, I've wanted to meet you for so long. Yeah. So thank you so much, man. Guys, check out at Sacred Boxing on Instagram. Give him a follow immediately. I'm going to put his link in the show notes if you need it. The greatest stuff, man. I love your stuff. Man. Keep it up. Thank you. You do really well, man. I'm really proud of you and all the stuff you do. It's such a pleasure to meet you. You're such a nice guy. I thought, this guy's a jackass in real life, but no, you're a good guy, man. You're
awesome, man. Divine timing brought this moment together. So I appreciate the invitation.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much, everybody. Please check us out, follow and subscribe, do all that stuff. And we'll see you next week. Next week, I believe on the podcast is going to be Bellator heavyweight main eventing a future card, Daniel the Predator James. He's the guy that Commander Dale Brown talked about, who used one of the Commander Dale Brown tactics in his fights. So Daniel James is coming on the podcast. Everybody, thanks a lot. Have a good one, buddy.
Take care.
All right.